warrior men are arriving in their ritual finery. It's an ancient ceremony as these men in their 30s and 40s turn from warriors to elders. By day's end, they'll be able to own property, including cattle, and make big changes on their behalf. The society is pretty strict, though. Women line up to pay their respects to the graduating warriors. Maasai rites of passage are declining due to urbanization and the encroachment of agriculture, but nonetheless, they still draw men and women into the thousands.
The Maasai culture is fascinating.
Yeah, it really
Everything
is.
about it is fascinating.
Yeah, and this happens 4 or 5 times in a
Wow.
Amazing video. All right, that's our time for now. We thank you for watching. See you back here again tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.
And right now, the Dane County DA's office says there is insufficient evidence to charge a Madison Lyft driver with sexual assault.
Badger football players say they want Quintez Cephas back on the field with them this season after he was acquitted of sexual assault charges.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
Staying with us at 5, everyone. We start tonight with breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The Lake Delton Police Department says a man is dead after going underwater in the Wisconsin River.
A witness showed first responders where they saw him go under. This was at Newport Park in Lake Delton. The fire department went out on a rescue boat and pulled a 40-year-old Wisconsin Dells man from the water there. They were not able to revive him. The Sauk County coroner pronounced him dead at the scene. Officials say the man was at Newport Park with his family. He was wading in shallow water near a steep underwater drop-off. His name will not be released until family members are notified. The Dane County DA's office is not filing charges against a Lyft driver accused of sexual assault.
District Attorney Ishmael Ozan says there is not enough evidence to prosecute the man. Our Amanda Quintana is here with the details. Amanda.
The 24-year-old Lyft driver was arrested by Madison police early Friday morning after a woman said he locked the doors and forced her to perform sex acts. Police recommended a charge of second-degree sexual assault of a person under the influence. Today telling me that was an appropriate referral, and they did have probable cause for the arrest. DA Ozan says there isn't enough evidence to prove the crime beyond a reasonable doubt.
This is a legal analysis and in no way speaks to the credibility of the victim or diminish the trauma that the victim experienced.
He says if more evidence surfaces, the case can be reconsidered, and he understands the courage it takes for sexual assault victims to report. As for this case, though, it is considered closed for now. Detectives are reaching out to the woman to tell her that there will be no charges filed.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Residents in Beloit are back in their homes now after a driver trying to escape police crashed and caused a gas leak overnight. The City of Beloit spokesperson says a 29-year-old man refused to pull over for police when he blew through an intersection. The officer ended that chase. Shortly after, the suspect crashed into another vehicle, rolling it onto its hood and into a pole at Harrison and Woodward Avenues. He also hit a gas line, forcing people within a 1-block radius to evacuate. An Alliant Energy official says about 40 people lost power, but everyone is back in their homes now with power restored. The suspect was arrested for fleeing and other violations.
Part of Highway 19 in Sun Prairie is back open after a car and a cement truck collided. This happened just before noon near the Town Hall Road intersection. Dispatchers said one person was taken to the hospital. The extent of their injuries is unknown. Wisconsin Badger football players are showing their support for Quintez Cephas, who wants to return to UW-Madison and the football team.
Head coach Paul Christ is speaking for the first time as well since Cephas was acquitted of sexual assault charges. Our Kevin Lewis joins us now with more. Kevin.
Still a lot of pieces to this puzzle as it unfolds. A handful of Badger players tweeted support for Cephas' return. Head coach Paul Christ, being 0% affiliated with social media, said he heard about it and is a fan of any genuine support between players. There are several things that still have to happen before Cephas would potentially become part of the football program again. But Chris said if that's the right thing for everyone involved, the Badgers would certainly welcome him back.
If it's best for Q, and it truly is for him, then I know his teammates and I know how we feel, we would welcome him back. And yet we got to make sure, and we've talked with the guys about it, you know, it's not about us. It's what's best for him, and if that is, we absolutely would.
Running back Jonathan Taylor shared his thoughts on the potential return of Cephas to the Badgers locker room. Players' reaction will be coming up on News 3 Now at 6. Cephas' team wanted an answer on readmittance by tomorrow, so many conversations have been happening over the last 48 hours. We'll see if we do get an answer tomorrow as the next piece kind of falls into place. Not an easy situation to figure out, but many dominoes have to fall in the right order for him to potentially, if he wants to, come back and play.
Starting with that decision, they hope by tomorrow from the chancellor.
That's what they'd like, yeah.
All right, Kevin Lewis. Kevin, thank you.
You bet.
Some shower chances tonight, then cooler temperatures. Let's get a look at your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
Eric's been pretty quiet across southern Wisconsin this afternoon. There have been some stronger thunderstorms just to our north. In fact, as we look at visible cloud tracking, you can see these powerful thunderstorms popping up around Rhinelander and Wausau and now heading through northern Wisconsin. Just north of our viewing area, there's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Outagamie, Waupaca, and Brown County up to the Green Bay area. And a couple of thunderstorm cells in northern portions of Juneau County are below severe limits right now. Most of the activity moving off toward the east, so the better chances of rain will stay north of Madison. There is a slight risk of severe thunderstorms in the northern part of the state and a marginal risk here in southern Wisconsin. Temperatures are still pretty warm, low to mid 80s through much of southern Wisconsin. Dew point temperatures are in the mid 60s to around 70, but the temperatures and the humidity will drop for tomorrow. Look for the rain chances to end overnight. Skies will be sunny for tomorrow with a high of 78, so it'll be cooler and less humid. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Thanks, Gary. A vendor at the Wisconsin State Fair was ordered to remove a controversial T-shirt on sale. That shirt read LGBT, which stood for Liberty, Guns, Beer, and Trump. At least one person complained the shirt was offensive to the LGBTQ community online. Other people took issue with pro-gun shirts in the wake of the 2 mass shootings over the weekend, but the vendor was only asked to remove the one shirt. President Trump made stops in Dayton and El Paso today to visit survivors and first responders from this weekend's mass shootings. Outside a Dayton hospital, protesters blamed the president for encouraging a culture of hate, but the president denies his language has contributed to the violence.
No, I don't think my rhetoric has at all. I think my rhetoric is it brings people together.
He has a lot of power, and he's been using it to incite violence.
Investigators say the 24-year-old who killed 9 people in Dayton's entertainment district had an interest in violent ideologies. Mourners in El Paso said the president, who has complained of a Hispanic invasion, should stay away from this largely Mexican-American community. President Trump says he is ready to move on new gun control measures, to move on them. He says following the mass shootings, there is a strong appetite for background checks. In Washington, Democrats have renewed their calls for even tougher laws. Presidential candidate Cory Booker is calling for a ban on assault weapons. Ohio Congressman Mike Turner's daughter was at a bar across the street at the time of the Dayton shooting. The Republican has an A rating from the NRA, but now says he supports an assault weapons ban, but it's unlikely that there will be enough Republican support in Congress to pass it.
The Wisconsin Department of Justice is hosting school administrators, teachers, and law enforcement for digital threat assessment courses this week. This training will help them intervene when a school receives a report that a student is showing concerning behavior to make sure the school and the community are safe. The goal is to identify concerning behavior on social media and prevent a mass attack. Teachers are also trained on how to connect with the student to figure out what's going on in their life and to redirect them to a new path. More local news now. Clergy members would be mandated to report child sexual abuse allegations, even if they were told in a confessional, under a new bill at the state capitol. It is one of 2 Democratic proposals announced at a news conference today. The other, the Child Victims Act, has failed to pass the legislature before. It would eliminate the statute of limitations on child sexual assault lawsuits. Currently, children have until age 35 to file civil suits.
Are we going to stand with children who need us to act on their behalf, or are we going to stand with child predators and pedophiles? And we're here today because we stand with children.
Some faith-based groups have expressed concern that the Child Victims Act would retroactively allow victims to come forward even if they're over 35 now. 2
UW-Madison police canines are getting some added protection. That's thanks to a local pet store and community donations. Mounds Pet Food Warehouse raised $19,000 to pay for 2 custom-fitted ballistic vests. Throughout the month of July, Mounds asked its customers to round up their purchase or buy a plush canine toy for the Vest-A-Dog fundraiser. The price tag on those between $850 and $1,200, so the protective vests are difficult for police departments to purchase.
It's absolutely indispensable. The donations we get and the funding, it makes our unit what it can be as far as training and equipment and keep us up to where we need to be with that.
Along with the vest, the community donations will pay for 80 canine first aid kits. Mounds also pays for all dog food for canine units all across Dane County. A years-long cross-country journey is coming to an end for one Wisconsin man.
Only our Danica Lewis caught up with him as he was finishing up his trip that was all inspired by a life of love. Danica?
This is an absolutely amazing story, Susan and Eric. In the words of his kids, for a farm boy from Wisconsin, Chuck Wagner has had quite the life. And that continues, thanks in no small part to his wife.
You are well prepared for whatever is ahead.
As a man of faith, Chuck Wagner is used to following someone else's plan.
You are God's child, and he will keep you in his care.
Sometimes that plan is typed out in scripture. Other times,
And leave things of the future to fate.
it's scribbled down on notebook paper.
Now I just love to see and do things, and it all came from her.
Chuck can recite the memories like Bible verses, like that time he was deployed in Hawaii and poked his head in between an Air Force buddy and Lorraine.
I knew I had somebody who would be with me through thick and thin.
And that time he married her right here at St. Paul's, just minutes away from where he grew up.
And we were never apart for the next 48 years, 11 months.
Or that time they moved their lives to Arizona and raised their family.
You know, I've got those memories. Nobody's going to take that from me.
Or that time Lorraine got sick. And that time 2 years ago when she was no longer around.
It's just been a great life, and I just wish she was still here with me to share it.
In a way,
Yeah.
she is.
This is all her writing of statements that throughout her life were important to her.
Before she died, Lorraine laid out how she wanted to be laid to rest.
When you're in Memphis, go to Chickasaw Gardens. Sprinkle some of my ashes in the pond.
And how she wanted Chuck to make memories in honor of hers.
Go to the Cape and ashes in the Banana River. I mean, she wrote all this stuff. This is her instruction to us as to what to see.
Following Lorraine's itinerary, Chuck's driven more than 11,000 miles across the country, seen places she grew up, places she taught, visiting old friends, and letting go of the loss, even going back to that hotel where they met and releasing some of her ashes off the coast of Hawaii.
And I firmly believe that. When we went through some of these things that we've gone through on these journeys, she's guided us in a way. So I haven't had a drink since 1983, but I had a beer at the Airliner bar because she told me I had to do that.
Chuck's on the last leg of his last trip from Lorraine, which brought him back through his home state to that church.
I love what I'm doing right now.
While he wishes the love of his life was still here, Chuck knows following her wishes, her plan,
To make wonderful memories every day.
is all part of his.
Lorraine's love lives forever, and I think that's the way it is. And I was blessed to find her.
Chuck is now headed to South Dakota, where he does want to stop, by the way, at Mount Rushmore, a landmark he and Lorraine saw just after he left the Air Force, came back stateside, and they were moving to Whitewater. And in true poetic fashion, Chuck's kids have the exact GPS point where they released Lorraine's ashes out in the Pacific, so Chuck's ashes can be set out to sea in that same spot.
Wow, beautiful story, and she was with him every step of the way.
Every single step of the way. Every time he sees a butterfly, he says, "Hi, hun."
Oh.
Very neat story. All right, Danica Lewis.
Don't make me cry, Danica.
Sorry, Susan. Sorry. He's awesome.
That's a great story.
Thanks, Danica.
Coming up next at 5, a woman is released from a Tennessee prison 15 years into her life sentence for killing the man who solicited her for sex.
And there's more local news ahead. A Richland Center mother says she wants to start a conversation about a scary situation where a man with a gun showed up at a candlelight vigil. We'll share her story tonight. News 3 Now at 6. And on Wall Street, minor movement for the markets in the midweek. Trading, the Dow loses 22. NASDAQ up almost 30, while the S&P added 2. We'll be right back.
Puerto Rico has its third governor in 1 week. This afternoon, Justice Secretary Wanda Vasquez was sworn in hours after the Supreme Court ruled the swearing in of former Governor Ricardo Rossello's handpicked successor was unconstitutional. Court justices pointed out Puerto Rico's legislature did not confirm the nomination. Rossello stepped down Friday after weeks of protest over offensive group chat messages.
Officials in Virginia say reports that a man with a weapon showed up to the USA Today headquarters in McLean were unsubstantiated. Heavily armed police officers responded and evacuated the building. The Fairfax County Police Chief called it a non-event, said he has no evidence that a crime was committed. Police received a report that an employee of a separate business inside the office building had sent a threatening text to a former coworker. Investigators questioned that person and found no crime had been committed. The woman in prison for murdering the man who solicited her for sex when she was just 16 is now out of jail. Centoya Brown was serving a life sentence at a prison in Tennessee. She says she was raped, forced into prostitution, and ended up killing one of her clients in self-defense. The former governor there commuted her sentence in January. Brown will now be under parole supervision. She earned her college degree while in prison and plans to start a nonprofit to help young people.
Let's get to the weather now. Gary Canalti is here with a look at the forecast. Gary?
Well, Susan, things pretty quiet across southern Wisconsin. We've been watching some thunderstorms just north of our viewing area up toward the Fox Valley and Green Bay. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings there. Warnings for Brown and Outagamie counties into the Green Bay area and then farther to the north into Shawano and Waupaca counties. But these storms are moving mainly toward the east or just east-southeast. That will keep them mainly to the north of our viewing area. We're watching one stronger thunderstorm cell located in the southern portion of Clark County. That might move into parts of Wood County and eventually down into northern Juneau and Adams counties. Another strong storm located just to the north and east of Camp Douglas. Quick storm track on that takes it to Preston by about 5:35. But you can see the impact, maybe a stronger wind impact just because of the rain just kind of raining itself out here. But the storm itself is pretty isolated. Hail, really not much of a threat, and maybe some brief heavy downpours. But you look as we put the radar into motion, you can see the general movement toward the east. So we're not seeing much of a southward movement. Eventually, a couple of these showers and thunderstorms might work their way into southern Wisconsin, but the greater threat for rain and thunderstorms will stay to our north and east. So while the Storm Prediction Center does have a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms across southern Wisconsin, like I mentioned last night, it's whether or not you can even get a thunderstorm to develop. The better chances will stay in northeastern Wisconsin, where there's a slight risk of severe weather for tonight. Live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. You can see partly sunny skies there. Rain chances are probably minimal over southwestern Wisconsin. WISC Skycam showing partly sunny skies as well. And the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Again, lots of sunshine on the southern end of Lake Mendota. As we look at our almanac for today, our high temperature reached 83 degrees, low temperature at 62, so again above the normals of 80 and 60. Right now our temperature is at 83 degrees. Winds out of the west-southwest at 8 miles per hour. Dew point temperature is in the mid-60s, but that will drop once a cold front passes and the winds shift around to the northwest. Temperatures right now are in the low to mid-80s through southern Wisconsin. La Crosse right now at 89. But notice to the north, those temperatures dropping off into the 70s over northern Minnesota, and dew point temperatures that are in the mid-60s to around 70 across the southern portion of Wisconsin back into northern Iowa, drop off into the lower 50s across northern Minnesota. That's the upper-level winds that'll be coming in and start to bring in that dry air behind the cold front. The hot and humid air still continues just to our south and to our west, but now we'll be on the northern fringes of that. The second cold front will come through and bring in a little cooler and drier air as we head into tomorrow. Temperatures right now 80s here, but 70s to the north. We'll be looking for some of those 70s for tomorrow. And notice the dew point temperatures dropping into the 50s and even some upper 40s. That means nighttime low temperatures will come back into the middle 50s by sometime tomorrow night. Look for a chance for a shower or thunderstorm this evening. Then skies turning mostly clear overnight with a low of 62. Tomorrow, a great day. Mostly sunny, cooler, less humid, high temperature at 78 degrees. On future track, the threat for a shower or thunderstorm mainly this evening, mainly north and east of Madison. Skies clear out overnight with lows in the lower 60s. Lots of sunshine for tomorrow, highs upper 70s. Cooler for tomorrow night with low temperatures in the mid-50s. And then for Friday, look for high temperatures in the upper 70s, again with mostly sunny skies. 7 to 10 day forecast, just an outside chance of a shower or thunderstorm Saturday night into Sunday and Monday. Maybe a little better chance Tuesday, but much of next week should be dry as well. High temperatures very comfortable, upper 70s to the lower 80s. As we take a look at first alert traffic, traffic right now. The eastbound Beltline not looking so good. That's the view of Park Street on the Beltline, and you can see delays right now. Eastbound Beltline beginning around Monona Drive and heading back to west of Verona Road. Also some delays, were at least a little earlier heading northbound out of Middleton on the Beltline. Right now, 36 minutes on the eastbound Beltline from University Avenue to the interstate, 21 minutes going back in the westbound direction. Heading out of Madison, it's 27 minutes down to Janesville on I-3990, only 16 minutes to Sauk City on US 12, and 20 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151 and East Washington Avenue. That's your News 3 Now First Alert traffic.
Thank you, Gary.
Next at 5, a class action lawsuit has been filed on behalf of Wisconsin residents who may have been impacted by the Capital One data breach. What you should know next. Disney says it's remaking the 1990s classic Christmas movie Home Alone as part of its long-awaited streaming service. Other planned remakes include Night at the Museum, Cheaper by the Dozen, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The Disney Plus streaming service will launch in November. It'll be the exclusive home of Marvel, Star Wars, Disney Animation, and Pixar films. The subscription cost is $6.99 a month. That's about half the price of a standard Netflix subscription. Class action lawsuit has been filed on behalf of Wisconsin customers impacted by the Capital One data breach. That suit alleges that Capital One violated the Wisconsin Consumer Act when it failed to protect people's private information when they applied for credit cards. Now, Capital One says the breach in March and April impacted 100 million applicants. A hacker got a hold of 140,000 Social Security numbers and 80,000 bank account numbers.
We want the court to grant a court order or injunction requiring Capital One to provide information to customers, telling them exactly what information was accessed and exactly how far it might have gone. So far, Capital One has not provided any means by which its customers can verify that, which means people have to assume the worst. You have to assume that all of your information has been compromised.
Now, anyone who thinks they may have applied for a Capital One credit card should immediately review credit reports to see if they have been affected.
More local news now. We're 1 week away from the end of last year's leasing season and the beginning of a new one. And you know what that means. Unwanted furniture, clothes, and other items will start piling up along Madison curbs. Some people sift through students' trash to find their own treasure, but moving days routinely put 1 million pounds of material into local landfills. For the Madison Streets Division, it's one of their busiest and most frustrating times of the year. They're asking residents to donate any items that are in good condition and bring old electronics to its center on Badger Road.
Every little bit helps because this is a super stressful time for everybody down there because these are these narrow streets with lots of traffic, lots of parked cars. Our vehicles are down there too. The neater the piles, the faster we can pick that stuff up and get out of everybody's way.
If you have any questions about what can be recycled or what can go to a charity for a donation, head to our website, channel3000.com.
And stay with us. We'll have another check of your forecast in just a moment.
On tonight's CBS Evening News, Joe Biden accuses President Trump of fanning the flames of white supremacy as the president visits two cities rocked by gun violence. CBS News exclusive. In a rare interview with Tiger Woods, the golf superstar opens up about his comeback and his family. And a cherished American flag is lost and found, forging a bond between two veterans. Those stories and more on tonight's CBS Evening News.
Watching a couple little raindrops out there.
Well, watching some storms up to the north, but right now they're staying to the north. Some severe weather in the Green Bay area, but you can see just how limited these thunderstorms are, even into southern Wisconsin. Most of those staying well north of Wisconsin Dells, and even those are pretty widely scattered. Temperatures right now are in the lower to middle 80s. It's 83 in Madison. Dew-point temperatures in the mid 60s to around 70, but look for a break in the heat and humidity with highs in the upper 70s the next couple of days, and much of next week should be dry as well, with temperatures very comfortable.
All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes with more updates on News 3 Now at 6. Stay tuned now for the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell.